Chicas, vuestra madre y yo vamos a divorciarnos. La monogamia es un mito.
La monogamia es un mito.
Otra vez.
La monogamia es un mito.
Entonces no sabía lo que quería decir.
I love the film.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Thank
I
you.
laugh so much.
Oh, good.
You're so funny.
Thanks.
You think there's a different way, even today, of judging women the way they behave sexually as opposed to men?
No question. Yeah, absolutely. I think just for myself, I'm a comedian. I've been on the road for 11 years, and I've been the opening act for male comics, and now I have the guy who's my opener on the road who warms up the crowd for me. Is a guy, and they all talk about sex even more than me on stage, but would never but aren't looked at the same way as me, you know. And they would go out and like sleep with girls on the road, and I never have. I've never slept with a guy I've met on the road, and but still I get the sort of reputation for that. And yeah, I think there's just such a low tolerance for women being sexual at all. It's really strange that it's still that way, but I'm trying to change it, and I hope it's changing.
Yeah, me too. We'll see. Your character in the film is kind of similar to your father in the film.
Yeah.
Do you think we kind of follow the pattern of our parents, like sexually speaking, or in terms of relationships?
I do, unfortunately. I think I know some people who've kind of broken the pattern of their parents, but for the most part, I mean, it's just the most depressing thing in the world to think, but I do think that a lot of us in some ways become like our parents, which is probably our worst nightmares.
What would be for you a red flag when you start a relationship that when you see it, you're like, oh man, I need to get out of here?
Someone who's a sex addict. You know, at first, I've dated some sex addicts where at first you're like, wow, I'm like the hottest person in the whole world. And then you're like, oh no, he would sleep with like this couch, which is why I'm dressed like this. Yeah, so a guy that's, yeah, or also somebody who talks about their mom too much. You know, I dated a guy who called his mom mother. He'd be like, well, mother says, and I was like, oh, no. There are a lot of red flags.
And you think in order to have a good relationship, you need to give up things that you did before, like in the movie, you give up a few things, or they need to accept you the way you are?
Yeah, I think there's probably got to be a compromise, which is why I'm single. And I don't like to think that Amy quit drinking in the movie, but I think she just got it together a little bit more, and took a look at herself and learned to love herself and wanted to treat herself better. And but I think you should really love the person for who they are, and you shouldn't try and change them. But if I think all relationships do require some compromise of your behavior and some things about yourself.
You are very politically incorrect when you do your stand-up comedy, which is, I find it really refreshing and awesome.
Thanks.
But do you think in this country, unless you're doing comedy, it's really hard to be politically incorrect, and people look at you like, oh, what are you doing?
I think even in comedy nowadays, it's hard to be politically incorrect. Yeah, I think it's such a gotcha society, and people want to catch people in the moment they do something that they didn't like, and so that they can feel better about themselves and have a place to focus their energy and anger for a second and judge people. But yeah, I think even nowadays for comedians it's hard.
You think that men are different depending on the nationality, or like American guys behave one way and then European ones behave other way, or men are men anywhere in the world?
I think men are men, but my experiences with guys of different cultures are that there are major differences, and some of them are good.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Solo soy una tía moderna que hace lo que le apetece. La semana pasada me lo hice con este. Venga, dime guarradas.
Salía del gimnasio.
¿Sí?
Acababa de machacarme los cuádriceps.
Vale.
Llevaba unos shorts. Aún me temblaban las piernas.
Hasta te estás describiendo a ti mismo. ¿Qué coño?